Alright, so you guys just ordered a new Pixel 9 series device, or it might have already shown up for you. Here are a ton of tips and tricks and really first things to do with the Pixel 9. With this new series, Google has added a ton of AI features. We're not even going to cover a majority of those. We're going to save that for another video. These are basic tips and tricks to get you started and personalize your Pixel to make it best suited for you. We'll throw up those affiliate links down below if you care to pick up some fast chargers, cases, or the phone itself. It helps out the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Let's jump right into it. Jumping right into the first things to do and tips and tricks. This is probably one of the most basic, but it is equally just as important, and that's going into settings, system, and checking for the actual software update and seeing if it is up to date. So by clicking software update, you're going to want to click on system update and verify it truly is up to date. This did have a day one update for us as soon as we launched our phone, so it is not uncommon for new devices, Pixels especially, to have a day one update. And obviously we'll always pull up your system is up to date. Make sure you press that little blue button that says check for update to truly verify. Equally as important too is the apps update, making sure all of your applications are updated, especially after a restore or a fresh boot. Sometimes the apps themselves are not up to date, and you will need to check here to make sure there is anything outstanding, and if there is, going ahead and updating it accordingly. One of the other obvious ones, and we're not going to touch a lot on AI here, we'll make a whole separate video for that like we said, but that is Gemini. So Gemini being included here is a massive change, and it lives in tandem with Google Assistant, even though that is going to be the future. So you're going to want to make sure this is set up. You do get a prompt when you first buy your phone and get the setup done if you want to initiate it. If you don't, you'll simply click on the app like we have here and activate it. This gives you access to a ton of very powerful AI features, including Gemini Live, if you want to turn that up. So you can actually, I should say turn it on so you can actually take advantage of that. Probably one of the best features here on these new Pixel devices. Now more along the lines of customizing your phone, it obviously is going to come down to wallpaper styles, widgets, and AI features here as well. So if you actually long press anywhere there is not an icon or a widget and go to wallpapers and styles, there is a couple of pretty neat features built into the wallpapers area. When you click on more wallpapers, you will see AI wallpaper and emoji workshops and my photos. We're going to touch on all three areas here, starting with AI wallpaper. And this is going to give you the ability to really kind of make an AI theme wallpaper as you would like. So as you can see, it comes with a little suggestion here. So if you don't want surreal, let's do realistic. And instead of cliffs, let's do beach in shades of orange and create wallpaper. It's letting you know exactly what it's doing. We'll say let's go, and it will very quickly actually generate what image you want, and you will be able to swipe through all of the results. So as you can see here, realistic beaches in shades of orange. Here are a couple that it pre-built for us just with that little prompt. You can change it from terrain, let's go to night, and you can obviously do any different description you want here with the prompts given. There are so many different options. It is actually very impressive. If you want to do something a little different and have a little more fun, instead of AI wallpaper, you do have that emoji workshop. That lets you select different emojis to make that general wallpaper on. So you can do patterns, colors, or straight up emojis. So let's go ahead and edit these emojis. Let's put a couple of little ones on here. Actually, let's clear it all. Let's do this little drooling face. Let's use those three. So once you do that, you can actually leave it if you're happy with how this makes it. Change the pattern for more of a mosaic look, which I think looks pretty cool. You can change the size of the icons. And again, you can change your colors for whatever you'd like to see. Very neat, and you can see how quickly you can make this your own in that way as well. Now, One really cool feature, if you like using your own photos for wallpaper, let's use this wallpaper I already got here. Not only can you typically customize it like you would, but depending on what version of Android you're running, on Android 15, you have that little Gemini logo right there on the bottom right. If you're running Android 14 out of the box, you'll see it actually on the screen here. By doing this, you can now create a cinematic wallpaper, and this adds 3D and motion effects to the photo. So if you go ahead and turn that on, you can see it'll actually start generating the image, and it'll actually move around with you, as you can see there. So instead of a static image, you have a little bit of motion to your background. So if we set that, set wallpaper, we'll do it as the pair. Now you can see whenever you move it around, that sun in the background is actually moving with the motion. Pretty neat. What you'll also see is it changed our theming colors up as well, which is very cool and brings us to our next call out. So if you like or would love to try themed icons, it is in beta, but it is in that same area under wallpapers and styles. And all you need to do is simply toggle on the themed icon. You can have the color contrast added. If you so choose, you can have high contrast text. Just depends on what your viewing preference is. And then obviously you can select different color patterns depending on the actual image itself pulling from, or customize it as you might want. You can have a dark theme set up. It's really up to you, but this does make it pretty fun. And a little bit more on the same screen here, we're going to go to lock screen. This will enable you to change your clock style simply by swiping. So I actually really like this one here. Obviously the color doesn't really work, doesn't pop at all. So if you click on colors and styles, you can change that right here as well as the tone of that color you pick. So if you want it darker, you can do that. If you want it lighter, you can do that as well. I think that actually looks pretty good. Yeah, let's leave that. The size, you only do get two options. This is something I do wish would change. If you leave dynamic set as your option here, this will change according to the lock screen content. So this clock with no notifications is your default. But if you have any notifications, and I'll lock it because we do, you will unfortunately only get this little one on the top left side. I wish they made it so you can always leave the large clock there. Unfortunately, that's not the case currently. Hopefully in the near future that will be changed. Now, also, still staying with this theme here, scrolling up a little bit, you can, for the last couple Android versions, change the shortcuts on your lock screen, which could be very beneficial to you depending on what you utilize the most. So you only have two options, left and right shortcut, as you can see here. Left does default to Google Home, but if you don't utilize any Nest accessories, that might be a waste of a shortcut for you. You can simply change it to the flashlight, and say for instance on the right you use the camera a lot, you can obviously set that as that shortcut as well. That helps very much so if you want a quick dive in. I will say the camera shortcut is kind of a duplicate since you can just double tap the power button as you've always been able to in these phones for a while. Jumping into our settings now, we do have another tip for you, which is pretty basic, but if you go to settings, network and internet, once you're in here, you're going to want to obviously look at Wi-Fi calling. This is a great feature to have just in case you're in an area with low signal strength. Wi-Fi calling is always here to help boost that signal so you can make a call as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection. You can also select your preference here if you want calls over Wi-Fi preferred or calls over mobile network. I do prefer it over the mobile network, so I will always leave that selected, but I will keep Wi-Fi calling on. So Pixel phones do come with VPN by Google. This used to be a feature of Google One, and if you want to use this, you can on mobile or on Wi-Fi networks. This will help protect you from actually being trackable, I guess you could say. So that's good to have here as well for your network traffic. I will call out this VPN is very limited. You can't select where your location is, whereas you could with Nord and all of that. So that's just something to remember as well. Out of that too, We have obviously a ton of quick settings here. If you are overwhelmed or you need to change around what is actually shown, it is as simple as, let's just say we want to rearrange camera access. You can literally just drag and drop wherever you would like. If you use hotspot a lot and don't want to scroll through the pages, you'll just add that up there as well. It makes it very quick and easy to rearrange this depending on what your preferences are. Another good one is actually something I fully believe should come set up out of the box, and that is the ability to snooze notifications. So if you go to settings and then scroll down to notifications, and once you're in notifications, you will have an option at the bottom here to allow notification snoozing. And when that's turned on, anytime you get a notification, you will see this icon right here that will allow you to snooze your notification for as long as you would like, up to 2 hours, 30 minutes, or a 15-minute interval. You can undo it if you don't want to, but it is, again, nice features to have if you decide to not be bothered at the current time with a current notification. Another one, which is probably equally nice, is notification history. So notification history is another one that should be turned on by default. Not sure why it isn't. This is also another one here as well, enhanced notifications. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what I always recommend is turning on notification history if you have a one-time password or something like that. For some reason, if you swipe it away, you can't go back and find it, or you can't remember what it was. By turning on notification history, you'll see all of those right there. Touching back to what I just slid on, enhanced notifications as well. This gives you suggested actions, responses, and more. And when you turn it on, it tells you enhanced notifications replace adaptive notifications in Android 12. This shows you actions and replies and organizes your notifications. It can access notification contents, including personal information like contact names and messages. This feature can also dismiss or respond to notifications, such as answering phone calls and control do not disturb. I think that's a very nice addition also to have if you so choose. Back in settings, let's go under sound and vibration. This is probably another one you could set up during your setup of the device. If you don't, Now Playing is an amazing tool if you have a lot of music playing around you or you're curious what is actually a current song that's playing in your relative area. This will allow you to identify songs playing nearby, and it will actually now give you updates on what you've heard recently as well. So if you're like, oh, what did I hear yesterday? And the phone recognized it, you can tell. You do also have an additional option here that says show search button on lock screen. So this will enable you to identify songs playing nearby that didn't automatically get recognized. The first time you turn this on, it will download a library to actually notice what is playing and give you that notification on the bottom center part of the screen. One other call out in the same area too is actually clear calling. One of those other things, it should be turned on by default. It wasn't for us. This actually helps block out background noises during calls, very similar to ambient noise cancellation in iPhones and all that. That is something good to have on if you so choose. And then going into your actual system settings here as well, we're going to just search for navigation. This is kind of tucked away here. If you go into your gesture navigation, and it has to be gesture, it can't be set to 3 button. If you click on the gear icon here, swipe to invoke assistant is a great added feature to have. By turning this on, instead of having to dedicate your power button or being purely on the home screen to activate Google Assistant, anywhere you are in an app, you can swipe up from the bottom right or left and start Google Assistant or Gemini, depending on which you have active. So it is a nice little added move there, especially if you want to save that power button to be dedicated to the power menu. And that is another one as well I want to call out. Maybe I'm old school, but if you go to press and hold power button under gestures, this will give you that exact setup we talked about. If you want it to be old school and set to the power menu, you can do that, or change it to the digital assistant, and you can have it dictated on how long of that hold will signify that change. So, one last one, I think it's actually really cool. You can long press on this bar right here to get circle to search now. And oops, if I can click it right with my angle, as you can see, when you long press it, it says hold the bottom bar to search what's on your screen. We'll say continue here. And let's go ahead and just circle this and see if it recognizes what we're looking at here. It sure does. And you can see just how quick a sunset PNG file pulled up and some other information on it. Really, really pretty cool. Just the power at your fingertips there. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. There's plenty of other tips and tricks around that you can find. Comment your favorite down below if we missed one, or let us know if you like these videos. We'll be making more, specifically around the iPhone 16 next month. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.